Welcome everybody to the main event 154. This is a special session today that asks the question, what's up, Sherry Horowitz? Sherry and I have been friends for a long time. Along with Glenn, we've done panel discussions together, and we're regularly been in touch with each other, but just recently we haven't had a lot of contact. And so I thought, well, instead of just having a one-on-one conversation, why not let Sherry tell everybody what's going on? So thus today's event. As always, I start off with talking about the news in AI this week. And I actually have 15 different posts that are in the news today that are in the comment section. Just one thing after another was happening all week long. I'm just going to list what's there. These things are all in the comment section on the page of today's event in LinkedIn. Flora has layers giving you precise scale, rotation, and placement. That is something that, just hold on one second here. That's what I figured. Somebody's asking for the link here. Just
because it's actually hard to find it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, because it's Brandis and not...
Right.
not me, because this got started back by
yes, remember.
The other.
Does each event have a unique ID, Al, or is it always?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it either for 15 minutes. I was panicking. But while you do that, I will say what I said earlier before you started recording. I wanted to say thank you for having me here. And for those of you listening who don't know Big Al or haven't followed the path of this group from, I think it was 3.5 years ago already, or 3 years ago, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Big Al's been an amazing leader in this space and bringing creative professionals together who are adapting in AI. And he has deep industry expertise, knowledge, and artistic ability and talent, but he's also extremely kind-hearted, generous facilitator of the group and how we've all been able to come together and learn from each other and grow together. So I really value you and our friendship, and thank you for having me here to schmooze about my next chapter in this era that we're living through.
Well, I'm just very glad too, and I'm also very glad that we are the friends that we are. The thing is, I've always been involved with a lot of different church ministries. In fact, my wife and I met teaching high school religious ed, and we started a teen program together, and we've done every sort of thing in church, including being music ministers, leading a choir for 18 years, and Judy playing the organ and keyboard. And I just don't have the physical stamina anymore at 82 to be able to get on my feet and do those kinds of things. So I actually feel that what I'm doing on LinkedIn is my new ministry.
I agree. I agree.
I'm just trying to help people, and I started with Midjourney 2, and right from the very beginning, I was trying to teach people not only how to prompt, but also what kind of subjects you could create with these images. I don't know about you, but at the very beginning, I got very sick of seeing Nike shoes and combinations of stormtroopers and ninjas fighters. Everybody was doing that sort of thing. So
spaceships.
Yes. So I started. I think I was the first one to use golden hour, and I think I was also the first one to do something in Art Deco, and just trying to get people to think. And that's how Brian and I did the book on one-word prompts and the importance of studying what a single word does in a prompt, because when you see what it does, then you can realize how it influences the prompt when it's included in the rest of the prompt. So that's what we were trying to do. Let me go back to the news and cover this stuff so that we can get back to our conversations here. I mentioned that Flora has layers now, and then there's a couple of workflows I always try to put in. There's one here and they're architectural, both of these workflows. This one is Nano Banana 2 C-Dance, and Plentor, and then it's showing, it basically is taking an interior and working from scratch to create the interiors of it. Scalable 3D mesh objects in minutes with TRIPO, TRIPO, P101, P10. Then Canva introduces magic layers, so it's very similar to what Flora is doing. So that's there. Robert Villa, for years, has been demonstrating the next level of what Midjourney is going to be. And he has posted a series of images done with Midjourney version 8, which is not out yet, but he's been able to sample things and show things, what's there. Our good friend Christopher Ciccarella in Germany describes use of Arrival.space platform, and he's been devoting all of his attention to working with 3D programs this year, and this is an interesting post. Video Draft introduces the storyboard capabilities leading to the production of a video, and so you would be able to create the storyboard from your script there and then go into producing a video like some other programs like LTX. This was in the news in addition to our friend Eugenio Ferro in Italy. It posts news all the time. And this is about Ben Affleck paid for developing an AI program for movie production that was really based on a soundstage kind of vernacular and everything. Anyways, it's been bought by Netflix. So I'm sorry, Ben, you're just making more money. Another AI architecture workflow, and this one is with Xfigura and Naman Mehta posts on this topic. Nano Banana and Quinn edit, and then creating a 3D view and being able to travel through it. We've seen our friend June Chow do similar things to this, but these are both very interesting to watch. Artist AI's latest promo about all their new features, and they keep touting the fact that they are the most organized AI platform and the only one you really need because you've got everything there. I don't think they have Midjourney.
Nobody does.
Well, there actually is one that we're going to be talking about next week, in fact.
Oh, somebody put an API up? Oh, cool. I wonder how much they have to pay for it. I read that Meta. I don't want to interrupt you. So
Jonathan Jersman has been doing something interesting this week. Eva is a version of Claude, and Eva has been given the ability to create images without any human involvement. And so this has been an experiment this week, and every day she is producing new artwork, either talking to ChatGTP or other programs about how to create an image and everything. And it's been very interesting to see what happens. I think that what we have to conclude, and ChatGTP said this to me as well when I showed him this first thing, is that it's still totally influenced by human input because that's what it's been trained on. And so it may try to do something that is uniquely its creation, but it's still based on the training that it's had. Our friend Spirit Novel is with us today, and she had fun with Higgsfield AI's Soul 2.0 and So I put that in there for you to take a look at, because Spirit needs more people looking at her stuff so that she is continuing to get following on Midjourney on LinkedIn. Comfy has an upgrade. They have an app mode which turns complex node workflow into simple user-friendly apps, is what they're talking about. I got an email the other day, and I have put in a link where you could subscribe to this. Email is called the Beyond Brief, and it's loaded with bigger company AI news. And I thought that it was a rather interesting issue, and so I've given you a link there on how to subscribe to that publication or email series. And last, and just recent today, Adobe Photoshop Beta, you can now place and rotate an object and then blend it perfectly into the lighting of the scene. So this is actually taking a 2D image, creating a 3D object. I'm sure you like this, Sandu.
I saw it. I saw it this morning.
Yeah,
I posted too, by the way.
See that.
And the thing is, they've had this capability with their Adobe Substance set of 4 programs, but it was always working with 3D objects, not 2D. But now, because of what's been developed by these different places to create, teach the program how to know what the backside of an object looks like, they now can do this in Photoshop, and they're also doing it in Illustrator with vector images. So
there are 2 things over there, Big Al. They hide the most important part. They have a reference, which let's say is like a Van Gogh or any classic master image, but it's a style. They took that style. You identify the object, let's say a car, a bed, or whatever they put. You rotate it. You may notice it's a 3D, but it's kind of different. And after that, after you place it, it transforms back to the style, which actually a lot of people probably they miss that point. When I was talking about 3D, it's more like we didn't talk too much about textures and how it looks like or how it gets integrated in an image. Adobe took the next step, saying, hey, give me a reference with that style. I will extract, make the 3D, do the tweaks, whatever you want. I will put it back, and I will revert back to what initially you have. And that is actually a big step. I'm not sure how many people catch on that, because that is what will give the upper hand on Adobe. Adobe always was the top, right? We know that. But right now they integrate 3D, as you said. It was heavy before in Substance, but it gives you a far more better flavor, which I do see it actually very powerful. Unfortunately, the mesh, the 3D, it's still, you cannot take it. It's still embedded in Adobe, but it's definitely something which people should think about, and what are the future capabilities between the 3D and 2D. I think it's very important.
I'm looking forward to trying it, because I've always considered myself a Photoshop expert, and so I want to try this out. I may actually be able to try it out on a project I'm working on right now for a client. We're placing different people in a situation, and one of the comments was that we didn't see the woman's face, and they want to see more of the woman's face. So
the backward, yes.
Maybe I can take and turn her around and see what happens. But it's also
let me know if you can take the 3D model out, if that gets available, because I think the biggest question, especially from the 3D world side, there are two concepts. Somebody's give you a 3D, it's hidden, you cannot play with that. I cannot take it and put it in Blender. So stays on that environment. Yeah. And we know Vigil is doing that, ton of other platforms are doing that, and they keep it kind of for themselves. And those which becomes open, and I'm not sure what will be the Adobe policy moving forward. I still think they want to keep it in-house. They want to keep it in that Adobe.
If they can take and do that, and then convert it into a 3D object that they can put into the Adobe Substance programs, then you've got a continuous 3D program. it'll be interesting to see if they do that.
Will be enclosed in Adobe Wall. That's what I'm saying. It's like two chain of thoughts, making not necessarily open source, but available to use other products, or they will give you the possibility, but you'll be encased only with Adobe products, so therefore you have to stay with Adobe, which I get it. I mean, that's business plans and how they want to keep their own platforms, keep the user with their own platforms. It's also the revenue, which is important too, right? Everybody knows that. So,
I'll just say one thing about that. I actually will say it out loud. I canceled my Adobe membership this week.
And the reason you canceled it was why?
Because I can do everything faster and better using platforms like Flora.
open source.
And well, I don't use open source so much because it always confuses me a little bit, but a platform like Flora, I can do it faster and better. And we should talk about that because that's what GigaBrain is about eventually, whenever you're ready.
Well, I think I'm done with the news at this point, so we can really go right into the subject of the day, which is what's up, Sherry Horowitz.
It's your meeting, Sherry. Go ahead.
But the thing that I think it's interesting to talk about that in terms of what you're doing and what your needs are. My clients are always wanting me to provide them with layered files. And so I basically, what I'm doing is I'm doing a lot of work in AI and then bringing elements into Photoshop and working with them there and providing them with different layers and everything. My work tends to be using 3D AI elements, but then really doing my usual Photoshop work. So that's what I'm known for, and that's why the people keep coming. It's that mix of capabilities that people come for.
Also, I think when you're doing very specific work like that, it makes sense that you need all the tools for that specific use case, because we still need to have we need to have whatever tool gets the job done the fastest. So Photoshop still, especially on very specific things, still has an edge. It's just that I'm not doing photo retouching. So, and if I do photo retouching or manipulation, which is I think what you're referring to, is that I can do it in ways that are good enough for me in Nano Banana, for example, or whatever newest feature is coming out. We can segue into that.
Well, one of the things that I have been doing is I've been creating images with Nano Banana in Kling, and using Kling's capabilities also for making images, because you just get far more better consistency than you could ever get from Midjourney. And so that's what I've been doing. So I've been producing, I just sent, before the meeting, I sent 4 images to my client, basically 2 different backgrounds that were needed, and then the same 4 positions of people put in each of them.
Yes.
So he was able to keep the consistency by getting everything out of Kling.
Correct. There's a lot of different ways to do that now as well. But
I think you raise an interesting point, and let's also touch on your GIGABRAIN Academy and why you've done that instead of AI Conjurer. But what programs are you primarily working in now?
So let me actually reframe that and discuss that within the GigaBrain rebrand. So for those of you who don't know, first of all, hi to all my friends on here. You know who you are from LinkedIn. Shout out to June and Chad and Ed Kaja and Eric David, Glenn Beckett. All you guys
Rachel here from Australia as well.
All the people who I know, Sandu, and also Mark Ronquillo, who always interacts with my posts. So I recognize his name, even though I've never really spoken to him. But all of you, Spirit is a darling friend, and I don't know all of you, but welcome, and I hope to get to know you. You can just I do look at people who interact on my posts, and I'm happy to get to know you and answer questions on any of my posts. So let me just take a little step back and say why I decided to rebrand into GigaBrain Academy. So I was going under the moniker of a personal brand as AI Conjurer since 2022. And the landscape, as you all know, anyone who's around here knows, has been evolving and changing and shifting. And my work, while I was a designer and published poet for many years, I found myself being really good at teaching. So the coursework that I created for the 300,000 students on Intermedia, which has now rebranded to the Modern Marketing Institute, taught me a lot of lessons about prompt engineering and prompt design. And I ended up doing a lot of lecturing at universities, marketing events over the last couple of years, 3 years already. And what I noticed also from my client work is that there was such a deep misunderstanding about prompt fundamentals. So even though I was an expert in Midjourney, because that was the first really useful tool for designers and it was so interesting, I noticed that, for example, I had a couple of investors approach me about my AI Conjurer course and to expand that into a larger business, but they were very seasoned entrepreneurs and had very poor understanding about AI and how to use it and how to apply it. And that came also from a lot of discovery calls with clients, e-commerce companies, legal companies, you name it. I don't remember them all now, but it became so apparent to me that there was so much that I had to educate to potential clients on the C-suite level that I realized that there is a desperate need, and I'm just going to turn that into even though I was building advanced courses, that is part of my advanced coursework. I realized there was also advanced conceptually for people. So GigaBrain is a result of what I've been doing over the last 3 years, which is a combination of client work, also what I did in my career for the last 20 years. But it's a result of client work, lecturing, creating courses, and just seeing that there is a deep divide between really understanding the overwhelming plethora of tools out there and how AI is applied. GigaBrain also is moving away from only design tools to how to train your own model. I spent the last year vibe coding. I studied UX design as a creative director for clients who needed brand aligned UI or whatever branded schema I was thinking about. And so there's a skill that's emerging going forward that requires a new way of thinking and a new framework of thinking. And I'm literally just trying to articulate that for people, which is really a creative AI director. And I don't think people have even articulated it. I did see some articles, like McKinsey level articles, that were starting to describe this role that many companies are desperate for. And so I just see that doesn't matter what kind of tool is going to come out. They're all going to change really rapidly. They're all going to evolve, but it's moved towards agentic style thinking, which means architectural style thinking, and creative directors are extremely well positioned to take advantage of that. So anybody that can do creative direction will be very well positioned to have that skill. And I couldn't even prepare for this class because I'm still organizing it and writing it down. So I put the link in to GigaBrain Academy. You'll get the link to one of the articles. I think there's only 3 up there right now because I'm reorganizing my whole digital strategy. But if you follow me on there, you'll start to see that I start from a very philosophical level, and then I'm building up to very practical applications about how the future skill is architectural design thinking, which has very practical applications in terms of training agents. And that is really how AI is going to develop. It's not going to just be prompt engineering. So that's really where I am.
Are you dealing with other things than just creative type plans?
Yes, I'm dealing with how to train large language models to be an extension of the deep knowledge that a person has or wants to manipulate. and then figuring out which tools align with that. So I'm going like industry by industry. I'm starting in the design industry because that's my wheelhouse, but then moving towards vibe coding, how to create a database, the kind of strategies and thought processes that go into training an agent to do a task, how they all fit together, how the workflows work. And obviously it may change in 2027, but there's still these evergreen basic principles of teaching people how to think using the AI models.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I hope it makes sense to people. Trying to make it make sense for everybody.
I think that what it really amounts to is that creativity can be applied in all different sorts of things besides art.
Correct.
So I think that that's a definite plus for creative thinkers to be able to take and find other places where their capabilities can be applied.
Well, let's take this lesson from vibe coding, which I've been doing for a year now. So many creative directors are involved in strategy. They're involved in UX design, if it's a digital product or in a web design. And many creative directors have the ability to think in a way that's different than an engineer. And I wrote my latest article that I wrote called What is the Singularity? Touches on this in a very abstract philosophical way. My next article will be much more practical. But the point is that this divide between engineer kind of framework and design framework is kind of collapsing or imploding in the vibe coding space. And I speak to people who are from the engineering background, and I started to see also the divide between the way they think about a problem in the same tool than the way a designer does. And I think that's where that skill lies now. And I'm trying to help business owners, CEOs, solopreneurs, creative directors, art directors, videographers understand that they are all already natural storytellers and leaders. And there's a lot of confusion in that little space between design and engineer thinking. So I am not sharing a screen, Rachel. It's just me talking. So you're not missing anything unless you want to look at my Substack where I have the latest articles about what I'm talking about. And you can just go on my LinkedIn because I just post all the time these little tidbits about the way I'm approaching it.
I wanted to ask you, in what you're doing, are you doing this all remotely, or are you being asked to go to places? Like Lori Mazer is traveling all over the country, teaching people in different scenarios.
I am not doing that. I have 5 children, and I became a grandmother 4 years ago, and I don't like to travel. I will do remote talks on Zoom.
So you got married at 11?
Thank you. No, a lot older than that. But I will do local talks. So I live in New York. I travel to Brooklyn. You're behind. I see everybody laughing. I'm a young grandmother, but I am a grandmother. I will go locally. I guess don't focus on that. Just focus on really providing value in my digital. I'm training my own models to do a lot of tasks for myself, which I'll be reporting on. Always a lot harder than they say. It's always a lot more complicated than they, thanks, Stu. Always a lot harder than people. It always requires this pattern that I noticed of high level to granular thinking. It's always architectural, contextual. You need a lot of skills to manage all these tools. So a lot of the promises made by companies is quite sensational. I will say that Anthropic is less sensational. I appreciate them a lot. I'm trying to just bring clarity to my clients. So a lot of my clients are in the C-suite and do some consulting, but I don't love to run around. It saps my energy. I don't know what's going on in the chat, but just see some of them popping up. Where I'm at. Still doing consulting and client work, but I'm focusing more and more on education.
Okay, now you talked about dropping Adobe, but what are the programs you're primarily working in now?
So I'm a creative partner in a lot of different programs, and I appreciate them all, but I really love Flora. It's between Midjourney and Flora because I can do almost anything I need there. And occasionally I'll do a one-off in Gemini. Sometimes the compute, honestly, the biggest limitation right now is the speed of the compute and the generations. My brain, I think humans don't realize how much faster they are than machines in some ways, and can do certain cognitive tasks faster than us. But when you want something done, you already have the idea in your head, and the machine often has to catch up with you. As a creative director and artist, bottleneck is not you, it's the tools. So there's a funny thing happening there, which I'll probably write about at some point.
On that subject, Sherry, are you considering the AI taking more time? Because I posted also a few things. Yeah,
some things can be more time consuming. Correct.
Yes, it's eating your time, and to do it right, it's taking even more time.
Depends what. But you know what, Sandhu? I've been thinking about that a lot. I think we're really working differently now. I think we're working at a much higher level, like a much more, it's just, I keep thinking about creative director, and you're doing the job of what a junior person might have done too, which is why it takes longer too. Besides for the, compute time taking time. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll run into or Midjourney just because it's faster. And make it do it for me as opposed to waiting for the compute through the API on Flora. But I think it's like a constant juggle between all the different tools and all the different models. But there's amazing advancements now. The most fascinating thing, and I apologize, I have so many tools that I don't even remember their names. I have to find them in a list that I store on my computer. There's one that I've been using. Oh gosh. Not Manus. Luma came out with a really cool Manus-like, and I know Flora's working on it, and Flora's also working on turning your workflows into apps, which, by the way, all of them are, and all of them are competing on all these same features, and they're all just, like a little race. Did this one a little better? This one a little better. It's like week to week. Oh. It's better for that now. Last week, Flora's agentic little dialogue box crashed. I think it's going to even out. At the end of the day, it's going to, Midjourney's, I think part of Midjourney's success is that its compute time is so fast. And they really honed in on the creative process for a very specific task, which is artistic, imagery, which you can then animate, but they're really focused on that, the UI.
It's the creative part. Yes,
the UI that's so important that many engineers in these companies who are competing do not get is that if your ideal customer persona is a creative director, an art director, an artist, videographer, photographer, there is a specific UI that is an extension of your mind. And Midjourney is the best for that. And Flora is runner-up. Now, the reason why Flora is runner-up is because their tools are way more complicated and they have way more features and they're dealing with a zillion different models. But they have realized that the UI getting out of the way of the creative process is really valuable. And that is why an artistic person will gravitate to those tools.
Midjourney metadata is actually probably the best, and I'll bet Adobe will love to buy Midjourney just to grab that, and of course keep it in their bubble. So you won't pay me if you want something, right? But what is important, and you touch it very well. The difference between an engineer and, let's say, the art director is actually of the level of thinking, because the art director, as you mentioned, he knows what he wants. He have it in their brain. Engineer takes that and they try to link it based on the electronics, hardware, and so on. So it's completely concept, completely different visions. But in my opinion, back to what you are saying, I think also the future will be driven not by the minute thing, tiny details, which is like in art. Hey, I made the big picture. And I think that's the future. See the big picture, because a lot of people doesn't see it. And even worse, they don't even understand it. But as you get this image, the 5-minute differences between the platforms, I think, will be irrelevant. Right now, we know whatever it's paid is cutting edge, but whatever it's open source, I will say is probably a month, 2 months, 3 months behind.
Yeah.
Especially if it's coming from China, probably they steal it. But the point is, depends what you want to do. I agree with that. It's not too much difference if you use a paid version versus an open source one. For example, in 3D, always I said, take Blender. It's a very strong, well support. Windows right now also, it's in big trouble because everybody is using Linux, particularly Linux Mint, which is free. I can run, I took an old computer which cannot run Windows, and I could use Linux on it and use it for 3D and stuff like that. So I do think that's the vision in the future. I think people will not get trapped. People are smart. That is, if you see a few things twice, get bored right away. That's human nature. You cannot take that away. So whatever people will try, and when you say Flora, I thought you say Flova.
Oh.
Because Margarita loves Flova as well.
Oh, yeah. I just posted about that. I just looked at it for a second. Like I said, I have a document with like a zillion tools, and there's like only so many hours in a day. And again, I keep realizing to myself, the biggest bottleneck is the compute time. Because I'm like between tools, waiting for them to generate. I generate something in Gemini, like a research report, or trained it, waiting for it. Then I go into the other model, set it up, wait for it, and I go back to another one.
That is the source of revenue. Actually, a lot of people doesn't know. When you have one of those platforms, highly possible they use Amazon Web Service, AWS. Sometimes the fight between the servers is very big, and if somebody, wish Mike Cooper to be here, he's got a platform, PicGen, and he's in the domain, and tell you actually how much profit they have. You can do whatever, but when you start paying the, on the servers and other things which are coming from different suppliers, margins are very, very small, and sometimes you that reflected in the membership payments, right?
Yes. Yeah,
so definitely the big view, the architectural view as you can, is not the architecture as buildings, right? The architecture means how you build stuff,
you think about it. Yes.
Yeah, the whole universe, if you want. What are the laws which are driven AI? And you mentioned LLMs, but I think is more the small LLMs, which are very specific. I think that's the future, because people when they want something, they want the easiest path to get it. And this is actually a universal law. In this universe, everything needs to be done with the less effort, with the maximum possible outcome. So I can give examples also in physics. The electrical current take always the less resistant path and so on. But the same logic, universal law of the universe. And we noticed that with AI too, and I found that fascinating, because will be a fight what you can get with AI, but will be close to what you have in mind, because every person is unique. Whatever you have in mind is very difficult to be transported if it's a different language, a different way of express themselves. And I think the success will come from the platform which will provide whatever is closest to what you have in mind as fast as is possible.
On the main event, I went through all the different programs, as many as I could. A number of things that I'm sure that I didn't include, including some specific programs. But I listed all of these different ones in different categories and everything. And it's amazing how many different programs are out there, and yet they keep coming out with new ones. Next week, instead of, it was supposed to be, Veloquist was supposed to be talking, but he has a personal family issue that he's got to deal with, so he had to drop out. So what I did was I moved up the fellow that's going to talk about Vilva AI, which is a new program that is node-based, and he's going to be with us talking about that program and why is his different from other ones. But he has included every possible program within his platform, including Midjourney. Of course, the problem with that is if you've been working in Midjourney for all these years, you're not going to be able to access your previous files going on to Midjourney from his platform. But the thing is that there's just so much stuff going on. I also want to ask you, in terms of the that you're working with, which ones do you prefer to work with?
Okay, so I canceled my ChatGPT account, and I work with Anthropic, Claude, and Gemini. I started using Cowork as well. I am exploring ClaudeBot, so I've seen some interesting things happen with it. I'm a little worried about the security, so I have a friend who was an engineer, but who is a professor of AI now. So like I'll call him up and make sure that things are secure because I don't have that technical engineering background. So I'm always a little hesitant to jump on right when things are hot and viral. I was hesitate about security. There are security issues. Back to your question about the LLM. So they're working really well. And the same strategies that I used in Midjourney, I've templated. What people don't realize is in Midjourney, I was able to get such good results is that there's this pattern of thinking, and I put that article in there, chat, I don't know if anyone saw it, about the difference between the left and right brain thinking. The same kind of left-right brain thinking that you're always pivoting back and forth, and which is the divide between the engineers and the artists. And that is my next article coming out on Substack, so you can look out for it. Is these tactics that apply to any AI model. You are thinking very high level, bird's eye view, and very granular at the same time. And then knowing sentence, which token, which keyword to apply, and how to frame the context of an idea is the same. And its particular prompt structure, which was order. And I would do these tricks where, because I knew that prompt structure was meaningful, I would add specific adjectives or modifiers at the end, almost like cooking. It's like adding like a dash of salt at the end. And there is this intuitive back and forth with each model that you learn from, but there are certain patterns that are the same throughout. Friendly with Andrew McLuhan, we once gave a panel talk together, but one of the things I discussed with him is this, was so neat about Midjourney at the time is that you get this instant feedback from the prompt visually. So you, as somebody, whoever's in this chat probably knows art history, style, mediums, and let's say political references or psychological references that are attached to a particular movement. There's a lot of layers here. So the same tactic applies to training a model. The prompt structure might be different. The prompt structure might evolve. In other words, we're moving away from maybe these long contextual prompts, and maybe they're building these little agents inside. Look at now and Anthropic. They're all helping you by, even Playtor, where I'm a partner there, they're building these little pre-trained agents for specific tasks that are repeatable. So like the one that I was playing around with, it's skills. They're in the skills category. I can't remember right now, but the same tactics that go into prompting in Midjourney go into prompting in any model. I hope I clarified that.
Sherry, on that aspect, all those platforms, particularly Midjourney, they already have a profile on you.
Yeah.
What prompt you do, even if it's wrong, bad, whatever, they already have thousands and thousands of previous prompts which you already wrote before, and they made reference to it. Because sometimes I wish if we can go back and unlearn an AI to say it is wrong, but don't put it in my prompts, right?
Well, but you can turn on and off the personalization.
Yes,
You can break those patterns.
yes, you can.
You
but
can
still,
break them. You just have to know how to break them.
here you
Yes.
go. It's part of the learning how you want to do it, because I think, yeah, it's just an expression of yourself. You want to do it in languages. I realize if you want to have a good result from Midjourney, throw the wrench on it. Throw on a mistake, on an error, or prompt is going to say, what this guy wants, it's give you something new. It's give you something like that salt which you mentioned,
Well,
that spice, the secret ingredient. And that's how you get it, right?
well, I'll say something even more calibrated and more focused than that I use, that I teach that in my original course. I teach people the idea of a bias. Many people think that a bias is bad. Well, if you use it for bad, it's bad. But every single word is a data set. And every data set has a limit or a parameter. So it's naturally biased. But I teach people how a bias is meant to be leveraged in AI. So I show in one of my modules a tiny little prompt of 4 words, and how by changing one word, you get radically different results for the same use case. So for example, a woman, and let's say you need an older woman who's dowdy, you would say a dowager. Or you would say, this is very simple, but those words have huge biases. And then I show how you can get an older woman that's edgy by throwing in the word femme fatale. So you think the point of what I'm trying to teach in GigaBrain is thinking through frameworks, because I did this in Vibe well. Vibe coding, well, let me back up. Language is the new user interface, but we all come to language from a different point of view in our biology. Yes, it's the poetry of framing. Yes, Edward. All come from a different biology, a different experience, a different socioeconomic, and our words are the way we're interfacing with the machine. And so you need to realize you're thinking through what you know, and then a database of tons of data points. I'm losing my train of thought, but the point is, what I was trying to say is that you're thinking through frameworks, and frameworks mean biases. So I find again and again that very well-placed tokenized words will, in a very short, doesn't matter what model, if it's a diffusion model or a generative language model, give me the most amazing results.
Sherry, I wanted to ask you, are you doing anything in video? Because video is another language.
Totally different. So find vibe coding to be more interesting. I am toying with video, but I'm not looking to do video client work. So I'm not making myself expert in that. I find that I want to feel very passionately for my kids, and I have a passion for education since my kids were little and were in school. I just feel like for the future, I think I could be more useful, not as a videographer, but to leave my mark in this world in teaching people these types of strategies and what it really means for us. I was in a think tank I'm so grateful to be part of, and I just think that I could be more useful, not focusing so much on video, even though I do definitely play around with it. But it's still very time consuming.
Well, we're coming very close to the hour, but we haven't opened up
conversation
to people to ask questions. So
I'll stay 5 more minutes if everybody wants to. I feel bad we didn't.
and we can do that too. Anybody have any comments or questions they'd like?
Anybody mind if I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Sherry, I'm Don Rockhead.
Hi.
I'm both a photographer and an engineer. So
Cool.
just FYI, some engineers might take offense because a lot of engineers who are closet artists that don't
Yes.
feel they have skills.
Totally agree with that. Yes.
So, but you said you were training models. So I was a little bit curious, like when you say you're training models, are you talking about like own independent models or just like the Anthropic? It's like what type of models?
I'll tell you, I don't have an engineering coding background. And again, of course, I did not want to disparage anyone who's an engineer at all. That was not my intention.
Oh, yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, yes, obviously, there are many different levels of skill levels, but I am not a coder. Don't know how to code. I know a tiny little bit about it. I studied it just from a curiosity level. I'm training whatever non-technical is out there for, like, this is natural language. So whatever Claude or Gemini allow me to train, that's what I'm training. So I trained, I didn't think it was possible, but I did manage to train Claude in a specific skill for specific types of essays. So I have subcategories: philosophical essays, taking 3 to actually 7 years of my own work and data, the same way you would do a mood board in Midjourney, or a photographer might train a model on a style. It's much more complicated to train a writing style. I hope to eventually write about that as well. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm training whatever non-technical model is out there to help me do the work that I want to do, if that makes sense.
Sure, that makes sense.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But I know that many engineers are artists as well. I do know that. I have friends like that. But it still fascinates me, by the way. Fascinates me, the difference. Hi, Ed. Nice to see you.
So, Sherry, my question to you, been a great journey with you since I connected with you and had our initial discussions. Have you given any more thought on the legal side based on our discussions?
All the recent from the Supreme Court, was it right? I don't really pay attention because I'm just trying to keep up with the developments.
Technical side.
Yeah, really understanding how the tools work, what works, what doesn't. I still think they have to catch up.
Ed,
I can help with that answer if you want.
Okay.
Depends on which part of the world you are, because I'm also, what's happening in Europe, what happened in Asia. I can tell you right now, Asia is far more open on the AI side, and stuff which might be illegal in Europe, for instance, they are perfectly legal in countries like China, even India sometimes. Yes, that's where the discussion starts from. Intellectual property is going to be the next thing which needs to be defined exactly. What is the intellectual property per se? Because you take an image for somebody who's going to say, hey, that's my intellectual property, and you put it in AI, and the answer which you get back from the AI is completely different. So the question is what you do. Your benefit, which you have it as an artist or as a creator to say it's yours. And that will be the gray line which needs to be clarified. Because right now, the AI get developed faster than the legal system can catch up. Me personally, I don't think they will catch up ever. I mean, if somebody...
Before we go, another question. Would you please people what your background is because of this issue of talking about legal? Yes. Tell them what you're doing.
The background and how Sherry and I actually became entwined is I'm an intellectual property attorney here in the U.S. I have a very U.S.-centric view of IP. I knew what area of law I was going to because law is a third career for me. So studied constitutional law, First Amendment law, especially administrative law, and every IP law course that I can take. So I'm very well tuned to the legal side. And also I'm a tech geek. My first career, I was a rocket scientist. So I've actually written patent applications in the AI space. Not the expert of AI, and not an avid user. So that's why I love Sherry's work, because she just is such the artist with the tools. But the conversations that we've had is the fact that, Ando, you hit it on the nose. It's going to be country dependent. There's no such thing as a universal copyright law. And so, in the world, lawsuits are brought where the engines are built, are all going to unwind in very, very different ways.
So as an artist, I'll just say briefly, I just feel like copying, because I look at it from like a point of view so that I don't get sued. And the same way I took a Xerox machine or a camera or Photoshop or any tool and copy somebody, I don't think you're really going to end up ever being in hot water if you're not copying somebody. That's how I feel about it. Could be wrong. And lawyer, you might say that's not the right approach. I'm not doing that kind of client work anyway right now, taking on that kind of client work anymore. So I don't think about it that much. I don't think anyone's
as a user, Sherry, you put it as a user from everything what we do is done from a third party, which is called platform, which is the AI itself, right? So it's a little bit more complicated to say what you do as a user, because you use a product in something like you make a knife and somebody using knife good in the kitchen or bad, right? So guns and whatever. That analogy is going to be obviously put it in AI as well. We know AI is going to use also for defense, for military purposes, and so on. That means it's far more complicated than we can do it in this discussion. But from IP point of view, I will just keep it simple. From IP point of view, first of all, an AI cannot make a patent. A human needs to do a patent. That's very clear, at least. But where is the gray line between saying, hey, it's a fair use? Like any student artist, you look to the great masters and you try to copy, but you do with your hands, you do it with yourself, and you use the tools, and tools are yours and so on. But in the digital area, it's more complicated because one, the platform itself needs to prove that they do it legally. So between us as a user and the platform, there is something like you drove a stolen car which you bought it from somebody. It's not going to go for after the guy who stole it, right? But that is the biggest thing which needs to be clarified. And probably it's going to go to the Supreme Court. I'm almost sure. I think also Midjourney was sued as well. They need to figure out what is actually the usefulness, you as a user, what you come with to make it yours and make it your personally, and what was the reference which somebody can claim it, right? Saying, hey, this is in the style of, because I did the reverse, I did the opposite. I put my own images, did it by myself, image journey, and I used the function describe, and I would guarantee it was not my name. I see plenty of other authors over there, but it was not Sandu, none of them. And those were done by me. So, both ways, I'm almost sure will be a solution. The solution could be like crypto, a blockchain. I'm almost sure any platform can say what are their references, and any image which was created can be backtraced. Hey, how you create this? What are your references? Like in the blockchain, the solution is there. But somebody in a legal system, which in the United States will be the Supreme Court, needs to say, yep, do it in that way. And yes.
Hey, Sandu, we just you had a guy who was going to ask a question, but he left. And his comment was, nice discussion, though way above my head for now. So let's get out of the trenches here for a minute. And
I feel that when that happens.
Sorry. The thing that I was thinking about was the fact that Adobe, talk about the fact that their stuff was safe because it was trained on their stock images. But now they have Banana available. They don't talk about that anymore.
Right.
Adjusting to what legal and what isn't. Sherry, unless there's anybody has any further questions, I'd like us to wrap up. But I really appreciate you being here today. And if it was getting into the deep weeds, we had a wonderful discussion today, and I'm delighted to have this chance to spend an hour with you again.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me geek out with you guys. I was trying to make it clear and not be abstract and a geek in the weeds. It always makes me sad if I lose people. But it's great hour game, so I always appreciate it. He's always willing to take it on. Thanks, Ed.
Sandu is also an artist and an engineer, so
that's true.
Usually it's an engineer first.
That's right.
I love engineers too. Please, God, don't take it personally, okay? I'm none, and I'm sorry. I wish I was.
Yeah, philosophy. By the way, it's great discussion, as everybody mentioned.
It's all my fault. Sorry.
Shout out to June.
Well, listen, I just want to very quickly talk about what's coming up. Like I mentioned earlier, next Alwyn Velasquez is not able to be with us, and Shruti Segar, Vilva AI, is going to be giving a demonstration on the program, Villa, another node-based program. On the 27th, we will be sharing our results from the March Big Al Challenge on doing a time capsule. And then I have the third open, since that's going to be. But on the 17th, Bas Layer is going to be with us. If you remember Bas Tobia, and it's going to be interesting, because what he was talking to me about, and it's like he wasn't sure whether this was a good subject or not for this thing, but he's become a little disenchanted with doing AI stuff, and he's been returning to doing more handwork. And I said, yeah, that's a good subject to talk about, because we'd like to see both your best, also hear about what your thinking is of what's going on, because we have periodically had people who have dropped out for a period of time, needing a break away from things. So it's going to be an interesting talk. And then on the 28th of April is going to be Scott Davis, who's a phenomenal video animator and beautiful, not all of which is AI. So what's coming up? Yes, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, Sherry, thanks for this great presentation. I just wanted to quickly ask, hope not to keep you too late. Sure. How is the Academy set up? Are there no courses you can choose from? Are they pre-recorded courses? How architecture of the...
I'm totally rebuilding it now, actually, and I'm actually struggling with it, because it's part of it is on my website right now. But I'm going to restructure it, hopefully over the next couple of months, to be a subscription-based model with a self-serve option for different areas that develop. So Midjourney is, I tell people that Midjourney is really a prompt fundamentals course, and it's really great to learn, even though it's visual. It's not only for marketers, it gives you great feedback to understand how prompt structure works. And I teach all these things that I talked about, how to leverage a bias and how the data is structured on the back end and how it works, with language. So there, it's expensive now because it's for agencies, but I will be lowering the price soon. So look out for that. And I will be trying to structure it in a way that's self-serve per a flow that I think is useful as a long-term skill. So it'll be designed by eventually.
Great, thank you. And by the way, I just started using Luma 8, and is absolutely insane. I
agree.
It really is a creative director's dream, because instead of talking to a director or a photographer, how you that's what you feel like you're doing. You feel like you're just talking to your supplier.
It's amazing. But Eric, did you test LTX in comparison? I mean, right. So Kling has this new me shot feature, which is like a little version of what's happening in Luma. I started testing Luma because I think it only came out a few weeks ago, and it has tremendous potential. I know Flora is trying to do the same thing, but the Luma model was better. I study it a little more, but I think that they have this layering of agentic backend between the agent that you're talking to and how it interprets the models. Flora is also trying to do that so that like it's which model you should use for what you're asking for. I did beta test Flora's agentic. They're building the same thing as Luma, but they're behind right now. And it went haywire. It was doing all kinds of crazy stuff and black box wackadoodle stuff. And I shut down. No, you didn't have a question. I just wanted
it was a comment. It wasn't really
right. I actually wanted to say something about that.
I was saying, was as a creative director, you're just talking to a director or photographer.
Yes.
You can get what you want.
Right. So the different platforms are having similar things, but the experience in Luma was really amazing. And I think it's even better than LTX, I think, right now.
That's the thing that they were showing Margareta Barreto back on the 20th of February was showing Flova. And there is where you have an AI that you're conversing with them to come up with what you
What's incredible is that it's what you need to do. It decides use this video generator or use that video generator or use this image creator or use that music. It decides what program to use and just uses it.
Yes, but Eric, you know what I noticed that like, did you try Manus? And also the one Flova that Margarita was saying she likes. I've been using those agents in different models because they all have them now. Something about Luma is really amazing. I can't even know yet what's so amazing because I only started using it about a week ago. So I can't tell you, but there's something different going on.
I haven't used the other one, so I can't compare. But it I don't know, maybe it's just the way the model is. You're reacting to the model, the personality of the model. It just feels like so.
No, they did something back end there that's really cool because I get more out of it. You need to really prompt it really well, Eric. Did you notice that?
Yes, and the prompted sometimes. I mean, I felt like it got inside my head and saw exactly what I was thinking. It was crazy.
It is a very impressive thing. I agree. It is very impressive.
I just wish, I'm working on a project that it's not violent, but it has some imagery that, some their came out as I can't create that, which is, trying to some workaround. So I wish there was a way of, or a way of, maybe level thing you could sign up for that allows you to use those kinds of prompts.
The question is, are we training the model or the model is training us? Because I was thinking about that too. Because it's the silent, is give you always a certain result when you put certain words, and I'm training my model and I get those results, but it could be the opposite. And, I don't go on the AI hypnosis, which is underway. That's only an interesting topic of discussion. Is like we know can hypnotize with words. It could be the opposite. Can an AI hypnotize you?
Sandra, when that happens, I will invite you back to talk about that. But,
I don't know. I will be under hypnosis.
I want to see you bark like a dog.
No, not bark like a dog. It's what we create with our mind. Is the question is always I'm training the model, but as I'm thinking more deeply about it, it's also the model's training people toward a certain directions. I'm almost sure about it, but the results always are awesome. And when people say, "Hey, it's exactly what I have in mind," it's like in art. It will be an explosion where people will get bored about it. But yeah, it's interesting discussion, no doubt about it. So yeah.
Well, guys, I think we could go on with this for at least an hour. But all good things have to come to an end, and I thank everybody that's here today for coming, and especially you, Sherry, and Sandra. You're always a terrific contributor to our conversation, so I'm delighted when you're able to be back with us. And
I'm like this.
Even get us really deep into the weeds,
But discussion of that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. It's nice to see you all.
Bye.
Wishing you all success and luck in everything that you do.